If I ever took a loss, I learned a lesson. I won't ever think I'm better than the next man. I've been down before to come up, I ain't stressing. Baby, I'm too busy counting all these blessings. Canada. Baby, I'm too busy counting all these blessings.
Hello, and welcome back to Purpose and Promises devotional vlog. We're excited to have you here for all of our returning subscribers and returning viewers and readers. Welcome. For those who are new, welcome. Right? If you're new to Purpose and Promises, I want to say that we are a devotional blog. And our whole purpose is to bring you inspiration for your everyday life. And today is Manna Mondays. At Purpose and Promise, we have declared Mondays to be Manna Monday, where we will be bringing you content on content on content. Right? And today I'm excited about the word that I will be sharing with you, about the message, about the inspiration, right? The inspiration that I will be sharing with you. I'm really excited about it. And we will be talking about identity crisis. We're starting a series, and this is part one. So the title of this inspirational message is Identity Crisis. Part one, who are you? I'm going to say it again. Who are you? Chadwick Boseman's death prompted me to really reflect on life. And I stumbled across this quote from a 2014 GQ magazine interview with Chadwick Boseman. And he was asked what he did right and what he felt like he did wrong as a stage director and a playwright. And Boseman responded in part by saying, I said yes too much. I said yes to certain projects that were not for me. It was somebody else's vision and somebody else's dream and somebody else's artistic endeavor, but it didn't necessarily fit in my grand scheme. And that quote really resonated with me, because how many of us are guilty of saying yes too much? How many of us are guilty of buying into someone else's vision and dream for us, whether it's our family or society or our profession? Are you living a life that does not necessarily fit into the grand scheme of your purpose? Who are you? The rock group The Who has a song called Who Are You? And the second verse chorus goes a little something like this. I'm going to not sing it because I don't want to hurt your ears with my lovely singing voice. But it goes something like this. Well, who are you? Who are you? Who? I really want to know. Who are you? Who? Tell me who you are. Who are you? Who? Because I really want to know. Who are you? Who? And I feel like I'm an owl with all these who's. But that song just really had me thinking. And I'm coming to ask you, how would you respond if someone asks you, who are you? Some of you may respond by saying, I'm a mother, a father, sister, a brother, a son, a daughter, a husband, or a wife. Some may respond by stating their position title. I'm a CEO, a facilities manager, I'm a forklift driver, I'm a teacher and engineer, I'm a doctor, I'm a nurse, I'm an attorney. Some may respond by emphasizing, your race or gender or ethnicity or sexual orientation or religion. I'm a Christian, I'm a Buddhist, I'm an atheist, I'm a black woman, I'm a member of the LGBTQIA community, I'm a white man, I'm a Latino American. Some may respond by stating your economic class, your status, or your struggles. I'm a homeowner. I'm a middle class American citizen. I'm a breast cancer survivor. I'm a prostate cancer survivor. Who am I? If you would have asked me that question in my childhood years, I would have responded by saying, I'm a stutterer. You see, growing up, I had a horrible stutter that was genetically inherited to me by one of my parents. I excelled academically, but did all I could to avoid public speaking because I didn't want others to make fun of my stuttering. In fact, I detested my stutter. And I felt that whenever I opened up my mouth, I felt like I was inferior to everyone else, to every other student. So I stayed quiet, and I only spoke when absolutely necessary or forced. But I didn't understand that God wanted to use my voice, my speech, my words as a light to others. Little did I know that God would use what I viewed as a handicap and a curse to show me how His strength is made perfect in my weakness. And as I continue to develop my relationship with God, I learn even more about who I am. I went from a stuttering little girl afraid to speak in public to speaking in rooms with top rank executives, on speaking on panels, to facilitating small groups and Bible studies, and to having a devotional blog where I'm talking to you. All because of God's strength and His grace and His purpose for my life. So today, I accept my stutter as a part of me, but it does not define me. It does not define who I am. Yes, I love it because it's a reminder of what God can do in my life and the life of others. But that stuttering child is no longer my identity. And I would not be speaking to you right now if I allowed my circumstances to stop my destiny. And I'm saying the same thing to you. I don't know what your circumstance is. Yours may not be a stutter, right, that you have cloaked your identity in. For you, it may be something else. But do not allow your circumstances to stop your destiny. Now, I'm still on this journey to discovering my authentic self. I'm not going to lie and say, oh my gosh, I'm at the pinnacle of self-actualization, because I'm still moving and breathing and journeying and discovering. But I will say that my answer to the question, who are you, when I was that little child in my 20s, are totally different than my answer now, as I'm 36 years young. My answer to the question, who are you, is constantly evolving, as I am constantly evolving, as you are constantly evolving, right? So don't feel like you have to have the same identity and the same answer, 10 years ago than you do now. When people make these statements like, you've changed, you're not the same person, that's a good thing a lot of times. That means you've grown, right? That means that you have expanded your territory, right? That means that you are evolving, right? I shouldn't be the same person I was 25 years ago. I should be stronger, wiser, right? Better. So the thing is, we are a combination of so many things. And to those in my professional world, I'm LaShandra. To my close friends and acquaintances, I'm Shan. And to my family, I'm a nickname that will not be revealed. And to my exes, hopefully I'm something good. Do not call me anything bad. But who are you? As you develop your relationship with God, you learn more about who you are. You were made with a purpose, a destiny. The creator of that purpose and destiny can tell you more about who you are than you can tell yourself. Why? Because he knew you before you were formed in your mother's womb. Right? He already knows who you are. Now, sometimes, developing that relationship with God to discover your identity means reading the Bible and praying and fellowshipping with others and spending, this quiet and alone time with God or reading other materials, right? And sometimes you may need to take like a deeper dive, and it may mean, going to therapy or counseling, right? So you can dig deep into those painful areas and address those hidden wounds, right? That you may have swept away or blocked out, or those things that you can't see. Either way, it requires action on our part. But let me share this with you because I really want you to know and to understand this and grasp this in your spirit. No one has to give you permission to be yourself. Some of you are waiting on approval from family, friends, colleagues, society, right? Your partner, or whatever it may be, for you to finally be unapologetically you. And I'm coming to you with the news flash, right? The only person that can give you permission to be you is YOU. You. You are the only one, right, that must give yourself permission to be you. That control, that power is not in anyone else's hands but you. Do not allow other people to control your destiny. Do not allow other people to control your identity. Do not allow other people or circumstances to control who you are. Now, in the lovely words of Maya Angelou, she says that if you're always trying to be normal, you will never know how amazing you can be. Think about that. If you're always trying to be normal, you won't know how amazing you can be. If you're always trying to be someone else or something that you're not, you will never know how amazing you are. There's another quote that I really like, and I don't know who the author is, but it goes a little something like this, and maybe I'm paraphrasing. It goes, be yourself. Everyone else is taken. Listen, no one can be you like you. No one can do you like you. No one can work you like you. You should be the best person at being you. There should be no one else that can be you like you. Right? And that's how you grow into your purpose. It's first by stepping into your identity of who you are. And you don't always get that all at once. Sometimes it's piecemeal, and you get it step by step by step. I was talking to my nephew, and I was assisting him with some homework that he had. It was an essay that he has to write. And he was first using this quote, and it was something to the effect of like, it's a marathon, or life is a marathon. You have to pace yourself. And it's the same thing with discovering who you are and your identity, right? It's not a sprint. It's a marathon. The more you grow, the more you learn, the more you experience, the more you do. You discover more and more about you. About who you are, about your values, about what makes you tick, about your purpose, about your destiny. Right? David didn't know exactly who he was, when he was a young boy, and as he continued to grow, he developed into that king, even though he was told he would be king at a young age. He didn't really develop into that identity. It was through time. It was through practice. It was through living. It was through obedience, right? That he really grew into his identity of who he really was. But one thing that he did recognize and always recognize was who God is and the power that lies within God, right? Now, when we choose to hide ourselves, we deny ourselves the opportunity to grow in the amazing purposes that God has for us. And I want you to have everything God has for you. I don't want anything to be left on the table. I want you to walk into your full self, into who you are, so God can pour into you. Now, we place so much emphasis on other people's opinions and approval that it keeps us from really, right, showing who we are. It keeps us from really trying to explore who we are. Now, we answer questions based on what we think people want to hear or based on the image that we want to project to other people, right? And we have a tendency to modify and curtail our gifts and talents to impress people. When you assimilate, you lose a sense of self. You lose the part of you that were the original you. The stronger parts of you, of your identity, and what made you unique and whole. And before you know it, you're a totally different person. A watered down, less happy, more anxious, constantly questioning and doubting yourself and abilities. Be you. Everyone else is taken. Right? You were created to be who you are. You were created to walk in the purpose God gave you, not the purpose for someone else. Like, I enjoy singing. I come from a family on my paternal side who are amazing singers. I can't sing. Now, I write songs and I love music, but I can't sing, right? So I can't try to walk into that purpose. That's not my purpose. And as much as I would love to, that's not the purpose God has given me, right? We have to use what is in our hands. What is in your hands? Use what God has placed in your hand. Use the passion God has placed within you, right? That thing is more than likely a part of your purpose. Now, the funny thing is, we want to be this watered down version of ourselves, but we want God to bless us to the fullness of all He has for us. So we want the fullness of all God has, while not being the fullness of who we should be in our own identity. But I hate to break this to you, but to receive the fullness of all God has for you, you have to walk into the full authenticity of who you are. God isn't going to bless you to the fullness when you're pretending to be someone else. And you can't fool God. You can fool people sometimes. Yeah, like we can put the wool over people's eyes at times. The ones that don't have keen discernment. Yeah. But you can't fool God. He knew you before you were formed in your mother's womb. He already knows you. He already knows without you even saying anything. Right? He knows when you're being real and He knows when you're being fake. I feel like I'm talking about Santa Claus. He knows when you're sleeping. He knows when you're awake. He knows when you're good or bad. But He knows, right? And if you want the fullness of your purpose, the fullness of your destiny, the fullness of your blessing, right? That comes from walking, right, in your true, authentic self. So you may be saying, you know what, Shan, I hear you. You're talking, you're saying all this about who are you and identity and knowing yourself and blah, blah, blah. But I don't know who I am. Well, first off, let me share this with you, right? You were made in the image of greatness. because you're made in the image of God. So that means, first off, you're already great. Second, let me say this. Right? It's nothing wrong with you or no problem. If you are at a point where you're like, I don't know who I am, that's okay. That means that, you know what? You can just start the process of journeying. But you can, start that process of discovering yourself by ascertaining your values. Since our values affect our judgments about how we see ourselves and how we see others. What you believe is greater than what you see. Let me repeat that. I'm going to rewind. What you believe is greater than what you see. What you believe about who you are is greater than what you see. What you believe about who other people are is greater than what you see. And the first thing that we have to do is we have to disconnect from these false identities to gain the freedom of who we really are. Dr. Matt James, in an article entitled "Who Are You?" states this. He says, as human beings, we are quick to identify ourselves using our circumstances, how others perceive us, our behaviors, or our position in life. It is somehow comforting to clothe ourselves in these identities, but none of those are really who we are. And the problem with latching on to these identities is, in addition to limiting our growth, it leaves us lost and confused when they are stripped from us. We see this play out in our everyday lives. People are holding tight to these false identities, their positions, their looks, their body, their possessions, right? All these other things, right, that we have kind of clothed ourselves to define us. And then when those things are no longer there, when they're gone, right, we're confused, we're disoriented, we're lost, because we're like, well, who am I without the car? Who am I without the money? Who am I without the family? Who am I without the spouse? Right? Who am I without my looks? Who am I without the body? You are still the great person God has called you to be. You are still the purpose-filled individual God has blessed you to be. Now, you may have formed your identity and who you are based on mistakes you made in the past, but that's not who you are. When the kids moved out and you became an empty nester, you may feel like you lost your identity, as you dedicated so much time and effort, to being a parent, to being the mom of this person, or the dad of this person, or the grandparents of this person, or the guardian, right, of this person. Those who are divorced spend so much time journeying, I can't talk right now, to discover who they are without their partner. And whether they were married for 1 year or 50 years, right? That journey still applies. People who lost their jobs, or whose businesses failed, or who are unemployed may struggle with finding their identity when they can no longer say, I'm the VP of this, or I'm the CEO of that, or I'm the supervisor or manager or employee of this company. But you are more than a title. You are more than a position. You are more than a status, right? We cling to negative identities as well. As we say things, if people ask, who are you? We may say, I'm a recovering addict, or I'm a reformed cheater, or I'm a high school or college dropout, or I'm a convicted felon, or I'm a procrastinator. But that's not who you are. And I am thankful that we serve a God that looks at the heart and doesn't base his love or forgiveness on our past or present deeds or choices. You are not your circumstances. You are not inferior. You are not inadequate. You are not your parents' mistakes. You are not your past mistakes. You are not your relationship status. You are not the number of followers that you have on social media. You are not the clothes you wear or the car you drive or the house you live in. You are not your bank account. You are not your economic class or your childhood upbringing. Now, this may offend some, but you are not your religious affiliation. You are not your political affiliation. And students, hear me, hear ye, all students. All students of all ages. I know right now it's turbulence time as you are dealing with, most of you are dealing with virtual learning, but let me share this with you. You are not your grades. Yes, you want to make good grades. Yes, you want to put forth your best foot and give as much effort as you can to your classes. But you are not your grades. Let me share this with you. I haven't really shared this with a lot of people, but I was at the bottom half of my law school class, rank and grade wise. And I still became general counsel of a multi-million-dollar company at the age of 32. And I'm not saying that to brag about, how hard I work or if you work hard, then anything is possible. No, it wasn't me. I can't take the credit for it. It's because God gave me strength and grace and favor. And when God has a destiny for you, no grades or circumstances or situation can stop it as long as you don't quit. Right? It didn't make sense by the world standards and by societal terms and by everything else. I should not have been in that position. But God had a purpose for me. And God has a purpose for you. And God is going to use what you see as a weakness. He will use that to show you his strength and to show others, right, his glory. And so you too will have a testimony like I'm sharing with you about how good God is. Who you are is so much more than those things that I just listed. And don't let anyone tell you differently. Now, I've told you a lot about who you're not, so let's talk about who you are. First off, you're greater than you think. You are so much greater than you think. You are loved. You are worthy of love. You are destined for purpose and greatness. You are worthy of forgiveness. You, me, we are imperfectly amazing. You are more than enough. I don't know who need to hear this, but I'm going to say it again. You are more than enough. I know people have been telling you that you're not enough. I know you may have heard in past relationships that you wasn't enough, but you are more than enough. You are an individual. You are capable of any dream or purpose or promise that God has laid before you. You are created to be amazing. You are more than your past failures. You are more than failed or broken relationships. You are more than the abandonment you experienced. You are more than your illness. You are more than the abuse that you suffered. You are more than the child you lost or gave up. You are more than your sexual orientation. You are more than the habits that you're struggling with. You are more than that conviction that's on your record. You are capable of greatness and victories and triumphs over the hurdles life have thrown at you and over the struggles that may be holding you captive. And you are all these things because God loves you. And you are made in His image. You are great. And in the words of Jesse Jackson, the remix version, you are somebody. You are somebody. You are somebody. May God keep you and bless you. And tune in next week for part 2 of our Identity Crisis series. I'll catch you later. Peace.
If I ever took a loss, I learned a lesson. I won't ever think I'm better than the next man. I've been down before to come up, I ain't stressing. Baby, I'm too busy counting all these blessings. Canada. Baby, I'm too busy counting all these blessings.